Hi everybody, it's Kelly with Eclectic Entries, and today I wanted to share with you some things that I've been up to ever since I went into kind of self-quarantine here. I'm not ill or anything, but because that's the case, I'm just assuming that I am infected, so I don't go much of anywhere, or anywhere actually. Now, not anywhere for it's been quite a few days. Because I have people in my household who are immune compromised due to different medical issues, as referenced in my previous video, and I am myself because I have asthma. So today I wanted to quickly share some things that I have been doing or plan to do during this in case I have continued stress related to everything that's going on in the world. I actually had kind of a scary moment today, but things got better. It had to do with somebody that I knew. Turns out that person's all right. So yeah, things are freaky, right now. So I'm enjoying a cup of coffee this morning. I have my window open because it's been super cloudy in Vegas, and even though I really enjoy that kind of weather and it being unseasonably rainy and cold here in the desert, I actually started to miss the sun a little bit. So I'm enjoying that. So one of the things I'm doing every morning is I'm stretching, first of all, and continuing to do physical therapy exercises because the gym I normally go to is closed, which is understandable. And there are also, some gyms are offering at-home, like free at-home video workout things that you do at your own risk. I can't usually do a lot of those because of my spine. So I've just been doing what I can here. Luckily, where I live has a garage, so I'm able to, I have room in the garage so I can go out and, roam around or stretch or dance or do something ridiculous looking, I'm sure. But it makes me feel better. It makes my muscles feel better. And they're like, oh, okay, we can maybe relax for like a little bit until I go back inside and then people have the news on and I'm like, oh God, no. But it's important to stay informed. I'm not saying it's not. So yeah, some of the stuff I've been up to, I've been really happy in that this has given me time to reflect on some things that are really important in my life. Sadly, a lot of this hasn't felt any different than it did before, the last few years before I had surgery, because I was I wasn't able to go out and do a lot of things anyway. Plus, when you're broke, you don't have the ability to go anywhere because everything costs money, especially here in the United States. And not everything is walkable either, which I think people outside the United States may not realize as much. So, uh, so it doesn't feel that much different than it did before. And I'm sorry if I'm manic. It's just I've had too much caffeine, and it's just the way things are. And I know I'll cut down on my intake and switch back to herbal tea and water. It'll be fine. But I've been reading. So before this all happened, I went and I grabbed. I spent like some Barnes & Noble gift cards from the holidays that I had never gotten to spend, and I bought this manga, the first manga I bought for myself since I moved from another state to Las Vegas, because, and even then, my friend bought it for me. Let me grab it. It's right over here. This was the last manga. I have dust on it, poor thing. This is the last manga that I got. This author actually had to end it early because of different reasons, but I still think it was a nice series. She did a good job trying to finish it, and I still have the artwork. But yeah, so I'm excited. It's Imhotep, which I have mixed feelings about for a lot of reasons, but it's Great Priest Imhotep, and it's by Makoto Morishita. So that's the one that I bought. It was fun. It's debatably culturally appropriative. I think it is, but it's still fun. God, I need something lighthearted nowadays, and it was that, and there's also an adventure element, and there's the Betrayal Knows My Name, which is shorthand on the internet, Uragiri, by Otaru Odagiri. So I had fun reading this one a while back, and most of my manga was never unpacked when we moved here 2 years ago, and I was so busy with my master's degree, I didn't have time to unpack it, and I really didn't have any place to put it. All my bookshelves are full, because I'm a bookworm. In addition to that, I've been saving this because I'm almost going to be done with it, because I'm one of those people who can read entire books in one day, easy. And I'm waiting, I'm using a lot of my electronics right now because I'm worried that if this continues to go out of control, as I hope it doesn't, but if it does continue to go out of control, I wanted to leave a lot of my paper stuff for when there might be power issues. Again, probably just being paranoid of post-apocalyptic kind of shit in my brain with anxiety, legit anxiety. But in case that's a thing, I'm leaving the books. So I've been having a fun time reading manga. I want to unpack more manga and reread all of Sayuki because I miss Minakura Sensei's works and I want to read it again. I think it's Minakura. Yeah, Kazuya Minakura. So the other thing is, it's not done yet, and this is woo-woo stuff, and I know you guys are going to laugh at me. Y'all will laugh at me, but that's fine. I don't care. But I started a vision board a while back, and as you can see, I really, really would appreciate a car. Having a place to live is first on that list, though, that's safe, along with, like, healthcare for me, though, for a lot of reasons, health reasons. So, yeah. But yeah, I started a vision board. I literally had old foam board lying around, and I found it in the garage, and I'm like, cuts up. Takes old things, paste it on there, being like, I'm going to see you every morning before I leave my room. So that's something I'm doing on the woo-woo side. I've been trying to draw and failing miserably. I actually don't know what happened to the sketchbook I was using the other day. It's like it up and disappeared, but it's probably just been eaten by my room somewhere. Did I leave it in a bag? No, I didn't. But yeah, I tend to like to draw, but I usually am too like embarrassed to do so because I'm just not very good at it, but that's no excuse because you can't get any better if you don't try, right? So I grabbed some of my old sketches to show. Like, here's something really old. It's like almost, no, it's not 10 years old, but it's got to be at least 5 to 6, 7 years old. That's an abstract thing that I drew a while back. And I've just been getting in touch with, like, what I used to do at junior college and stuff when I had time after my studying was done to decompress. And I kind of miss it. Like, I hella miss it. And so I've gotten my tablet out. I fixed my big computer that still works with my tablet. I'm not going to get into the latest operating system update for Mac and how it completely screwed over my MacBook Air and all of the things I used to be able to do on it. Because Apple, I will never be buying you again. Yeah. Anyway, my tablet driver doesn't work anymore on that old computer. Well, the newer computer, but still old. And so now I'm on the even older computer that can't update its OS anymore, but I can still use my tablet, video editing software, and make movies. So you can probably guess what kind of gesture I want to make to Mac. Old drawings. Where's one of my favorite ones? I know I tried to redo some of them. Oh God, yeah. This one's a redraw from a really old drawing I had on my DeviantArt a long time ago. And this was like back at Christmas where I drew one of my OCs trying to have a drink and stuff. Another one. These are all characters that I actually have, like, there we go. These are all characters that are actually in a book I'm writing. I like books, plural, because it's taking forever. Anybody who's ever tried writing without forcing it and then having characters be the thing, like, they'll do things. It will kind of surprise you. And I'm sorry if my computer is wigging out. It's the light mixed with the fact it's an old webcam. But that's been fun. I've actually gotten a lot more writing done on the books lately. Before this happened, and then after this happened, and then I've been making notes, and now I have to flesh it back out. And before this happened with COVID-19, I had written more. So it's been good if you're a writer or an artist, because you're like, I have time to create, and I'm so stressed out. Let's do it, you know? Speaking of de-stressing, I know this is all like super self-care shit, but seriously, it can help. Like, come on, just remember when you were a kid and you would go and you would draw and you'd do things and you'd color stuff. So I have an entire coloring kit, blah, and then some coloring books that people have sent me over the years. So when I don't want to have to think to make things myself, I can actually, somebody was calling me, what the hell? It was a robocall. Who dared call me? But anyway, yeah, like I love coloring, but I usually love jigsaw puzzles more. So I finished a 500-piece Venice jigsaw puzzle with my family a few days ago, but I did the majority of the work. And we still have a few more. And we had stockpiled them from when we went to the dollar store when we first moved here. And so that's been kind of nice. It's something that you can, again, I cut out like more of that foam board and made sure it was big enough so you can just kind of lift it off the dining room table in the common space and then put it back, you know, when you have meals and not meals and stuff like that. And you can just come to it and you can just stare at it and do whatever. You can have headphones on, listen to things. You could still be texting and chatting with people while you're doing it, either in real life, offline, or in real life, online. And funny how that term's changed over time. I've also thought about redecorating my room, which I thought to do before this all happened, so I'm glad I got some of those command stickies that don't leave marks because I live in a rented space. So I'm going to finally put up Sakura. I'm going to finally put up this autographed thing of Doug Jones I got at ModestoCon a few years ago. It's the reflection of part of my wallpaper on my laptop. It's Heine from Dogs, Bullets, and Carnage by Niwa Shiro. I love that manga. I am so sad that Viz stopped translating it. Anyway, this lovely art piece. So 2 out of those 3 things were sent to me, actually, by a dear friend, who also happens to be the dear friend that got the manga before I left where I used to live. On the other side of things, again, writing before we get off of the creative bit and into more like a utilitarian one. These are all notes for the books. Yeah. That's not even all of them. I have like an entire armoire because I use an armoire to store clothing in the drawers below, and above it's like a multimedia, like I put my TV in it because there's no back, so I can safely have electronics in it, my old GameCube and my scanner printer copier, and then above that there's another shelf and I have a lot of journals there, but not all my journals. And then the last bit for things that I've been doing and then want to do during COVID-19 is I need to continue to work on my Japanese because I have a friend that's going to be moving there. I need to finally, again, dollar store, finish making the rest of the, I have all my hiragana from this book out onto here, but I need to do the katakana still, and that way I can continue to do that. I know that Genki, I think the book that my friend was recommending to me, had a free download for their app right now, so you can start studying Japanese. I know that the Tokyo Olympics, if I'm not hallucinating that story, because everything sounds so surreal nowadays, was postponed officially. Yeah, I think it's the right decision, but I do feel bad for all the athletes that have worked really hard, and their coaches, and their families, and their friends. And I feel for the Japanese people because they were really, I think they were probably fairly nervous, excited about everything. Like I think a lot of countries would be to have people come and visit them and stuff. And now it's not happening, at least for now. Again, I think it was the right decision for everybody's safety. The other languages I'm working on. Are you ready for this retro textbook? Are you ready for it? It's not the only piece of Spanish stuff I have to use, but I love this retro trash textbook that I got hella years ago. Oh my god, it is so retro. Look at that. So I'm continuing to work on Spanish, both the Spain Spanish and like the Central and South American Spanish. My mom grew up in Venezuela for quite a few years of her life, so I use her as a resource. And in fact, with her Alzheimer's, sometimes, in fact, most of the time, if you say something to her in Spanish, she'll respond. You say it to her in English and she'll be like, not as responsive. So that's a thing. I'm glad that I didn't totally lose it over the years. I'm much better at reading than I am speaking or writing yet. I can also understand people pretty well. I used to startle some people when I worked retail, especially at like Build-A-Bear Workshop or JCPenney's, because people are like, oh, this white person understands what we're saying. It's like, yes, sweetheart, like half part of my family speaks Spanish, and then my mom grew up speaking Spanish. and I grew up around a lot of people speaking Spanish in Salinas, California when I was in elementary school. So you kind of learn it or you don't know what's going on half the time, people. Most of the United States, again, I know I've said this in my other videos, we need to get with it when it comes to being bilingual and multilingual. It's sad. It's just sad. Missing out on so much. And then this breaks my heart to mention this because of what's going on in Italy. It continues to go on in Italy, but I was also learning Italian and all of that. And one of the things I actually used to do, and I think it helps a lot when you're learning a language, aside from actually speaking to somebody, which is something I really need to work on, and I'm sorry that I talk with my hands, I'm trying not to, that if you read, right, it takes your vocabulary to the next level, especially if you come from a language that's already partial. Like English is kind of Latin-based, but not really because it's also Germanic and other stuff that I don't want to go into because it hurts me deeply. That's how complicated English is. I'm an English speaker and it's complicated for me. It hurts. But anyway, if you know, like I said, I grew up hearing and understanding Spanish and things like that from an early age. So when I am reading stuff in Italian or even French, I can usually decipher what things are from Latin roots. Also because I was a freak of nature as a child and had this really retro, old dictionary I loved that I used to thumb through all the time, and it had these cool little like newsprint type illustrations on some of the pages multiple times for different things, and it would give you the Latin root, and I was a dork and would actually go through and read that as a kid. So that plus loving science, so anything related to biology, physical and earth science, chemistry a little bit, but not really so much for me, and then astronomy. I almost said astrology. Astronomy. They used to be the same thing once upon a time. It was more nuanced than that, but those things also use Latin and Greek, right? At least here in the Western world. Western, I hate using that because I feel like it's Eurocentric. But yeah, in the European, like Eurocentric world, right, that they use that. So if you grew up with that, it's easier to read. And I found that. I will go to like Le Monde and read stories, or I will go to like Una Visión and go to their news section. So like Noticias, you know, Una Visión Noticias, their news section on that network, and read stories, because it's also one of the only places I can get news stories about Venezuela is on Spanish websites, right? For my mom, because she still wants to know what's going on there. Because for her, it still feels like her country for her. And then Italy, I was reading La Stampa sometimes, and I'm trying to wrap my brain around Portuguese, but I still have to stand. I have to stand and or sit and stare and be like, oh, like for a while. So, but if somebody spoke it to me, it's like French, like I won't know what you're saying most of the time, unless it's certain kinds of words. So I'm working on it. Anyway, so those are all things I've been doing during COVID-19. The last thing I wanted to share with you all is I am excited because the sun is finally out, and I'm hoping it'll be warm enough because it's been unseasonably cold here in Las Vegas to start garden. And I have an egg carton. It's empty. And I have some coffee grounds, and I'm going to be mixing that with some soil that I had, along with some pots, maybe. I might be using pots, but I think I'm going to use this to do the seedlings first. And if it's too cold, I may use an empty plastic storage container as like a greenhouse thing to try and keep them warm. I'm wanting to plant, where'd you go? It disappeared? No, they're right here. Okay. I have a lot of different things I could plant, but right now I'm just going to plant jalapenos, which I totally have seeds for. And I want to plant basil and these weird peppers. Kind of supposed to be like mild enough that you can use them on pizza, which is interesting. And then I have oregano, but I'm going to wait until it's warmer to start growing that because and separately, because these are definitely not culinary. In fact, they're poisonous. Heliotrope, okay, and poppies. My mom chose poppies and sweet williams. So these two are the ones I really want to keep away from anything edible because it's too. And then this one too because I don't know, and if you're not sure, just keep it away from stuff that you might eat. So, yeah, so I'm excited about starting my little garden this year. The last few years I didn't have as good a luck because it was so hot and I was dumb and I moved things out too early and I didn't let them become strong enough. So this year I'm going to be erring on the side of caution and hopefully it'll turn out better. I'm going to be logging it in a journal I have. So those are all things that I've been doing, will do, hopefully continue to do some of them during the COVID-19 quarantine type thing and lockdown. We're not really officially in lockdown here in Nevada, but it's just, it's really disturbing how many people don't take it seriously. So please don't do that. Like, you could unintentionally kill somebody. Like, I know that sounds melodramatic, but it's not. Like, it's really not. So, on that note, I'm going to finally repaint my nails. It's purple, because Zoya. And the Pacifica, Rainbow Glow. And probably chew on these mint toothpicks, which I don't recommend you doing, because please don't choke and die. But it makes me feel better because it's like a stemming thing. And it keeps me from touching my face too much, so I can clean my hands, put it in there, and then not touch it again, and then just chew on it. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I hope you're all going to be okay. I know that it's been weird, and I hope to actually make a video update that has to do with media the next time instead of all this other COVID shit. So, but yeah, take care of yourself as you're able. Again, this is Kelly with Eclectic Entries. Bye now.